All right, this video is for Monday, March the 30th. This is for Algebra 1. And today's worksheet is a series of questions, most of them word problems, that come directly from the SAT practice test, which was released by the College Board, the actual company that makes the SAT. So you can anticipate that these questions will be very much like the kinds of questions you'll see on the SAT. So I'm going to give you something to think of, a little hint for each one. If you don't already have your worksheet pulled out, you might want to get it where you can actually see it, or maybe pause this video and do one at a time. That might be the best way to do it. Anyhow, the first question has to do with it's an inequality question. So we're trying to determine something that is greater than or equal to. All right. Remember the sign for greater than or equal to will look like this. So your answer is not going to have an equal sign on it. Your equation will have that sign greater than or equal to. This particular problem works this way. So we're trying to determine how many of two different kinds of drinks we have to get 1,000 milligrams of calcium in our daily diet, and we know that we're going to drink just one glass of milk, and milk has 299 milligrams in it. So one glass of milk is 299 milligrams. The rest of it we intend to make up by drinking juice all day long. So each cup of juice has 261 milligrams of calcium. And our total intake must be greater than or equal to 1,000. So let's think about it. We know that we've got two drinks of different values. Now milk, we know we're going to have just one glass, okay? So that's going to be, our milk is M, and we want to add some number of juices. We're going to call juice J. So one milk plus X number of J is going to equal. Is going to be greater than or equal to 1,000 milligrams. All right. So we're going to set our problem up like this. We're going to say milk plus X times J. Some number of juices is going to be greater than or equal to 1,000. Well, we already know that milk is 299 milligrams. So 299 milligrams plus some number in juice is 261 milligrams. All right, so we're solving here for X, and X is the number of juice drinks we have to have, right? So if one glass of milk is 299 plus X times 261, well, X is the number of juice glasses, right? The number of 261s. Each juice glass is 261 milligrams. So X is the number of juice glasses. So we're going to solve for X. And how are we going to do that? Well, you're going to isolate X. Remember, when you have an inequality sign, a greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, you treat it just like you would an equal sign. Okay, treat it just like you would an equal sign. But the key here is solve for X the same way we would. What are we going to do? We're going to try to get rid of the 299 milligrams. I want to get 299 milligrams out of there. What am I going to do? I'm going to subtract it, right? I'm going to subtract it from one side. If I subtract it from one side, I have to do what? Subtract it from the other, okay? And I have X times 261. Let's see if we can't figure out how that's going to work, okay? So that's going to be problem number one. Problem number two has to do with calculating a total cost, okay? A total cost. So we're talking about a hotel room, and the total cost of the hotel room the total cost is going to equal, okay, the flat fee. These numbers are in your worksheet, so I'm not going to give them to you now. It's more important that you get the principle here. You have a flat fee. No matter how many nights you stay, everybody pays the same fee, right? Okay, let's say I'm going to stay one night. What's my flat fee? $5. I'm going to stay 10 nights. What's my flat fee? $5. Doesn't change. It's not a per night charge. It's just everybody's going to pay this one time, no matter how many times you show up, right? Plus your room rate. Okay, your room rate is how much it is your cost every night, right? Some hotels might cost $30 a night. Some might cost $300 a night, right? So your room rate per day plus taxes, okay? So your room rate per day plus taxes. So you've got the full room rate, and then remember, if you're going to calculate the taxes, let's say for example your tax is 10%, then whatever your room rate is, you'll take that number times the number of nights. Okay, per day means times the number of nights that you're staying there. And you'll have to calculate the tax on that because that's going to be a taxable amount, right? If it's $100 a night and there's a 10% tax, that means every night you're going to stay there, there's $10 of tax. So if you add the room rate plus the tax, okay, that's a per day event. So what are you going to do? You're going to take this and you're going to calculate it separately from this. Why? Because the flat fee doesn't matter how many nights you stay there. But this right here, this per day, okay, that's how many days and therefore how many days you have to pay for. And of course that determines how many taxes, how much the taxes are. I want to point this out. If we're talking about per day, right, let's say the example I just threw out there, it's not the same example from the worksheet, but if $100 was my room fee, and I'm staying 5 nights, okay, that would be times 5. If I'm staying 2 nights, that would be times 2. If I don't know how many nights, I just need to know how's this going to work. I'm going to replace this with something that I don't know. In other words, my per day becomes an X. 100 times X means 100 times how many ever days I'm going to stay, right? So there's a couple ways to calculate this. You might calculate it, your room rate separate, and then add in your taxes, or you can calculate room rate with taxes and then multiply it times the number of days, or multiply it times X. All right. The next number I'll give you this as a hint. You have to rearrange the equation as given in the point slope formula, okay? And so no matter what order you're given, okay, it can have X and Y and whatever number, it can have it anywhere, you're going to rearrange it by adding, subtracting to both sides, multiplying, dividing both sides, whatever you have to do, whatever you're given, you need to get it so that it looks like Y equals mx plus b, okay? In other words, you want y all by itself. Now, hint, remember that this is your slope, and not every equation is going to have a number there before the x. You could say 0.5x, you could say 10x, whatever it is. It might just say y equals x. What does that mean? That means our slope is 1 because there's an invisible 1 before our x. Think about that. This number right here is whatever's hanging out, and it is our y-intercept, okay? Now, if I'm graphing my equation, once I've rewritten it so that y is all by itself, and then you have an equal sign, and then you have something times x, or just x, plus or minus some number, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to graph this way. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my y-intercept. If it's a positive number, my y-intercept is above the x-axis. If it's a negative number, in other words, if this says x minus something, then my y-intercept is below the x-axis, okay? And I'm going to find that number. Let's say it's -3. Let's say hanging out here, it says something x -3. I'm going to find my -3. I'm going to put my first dot there. Then I'm going to calculate my slope. What is my slope? Well, my slope is a fraction. Remember, slope equals rise over run. So a slope of 1 equals 1 over 1. What does that mean? That means that if I'm sloping +1, oh, you couldn't see that. Yeah, you can see what I was writing it there. My slope would be +1, a rise of 1, run of 1, rise of 1, run of 1. In other words, I've got this going on as my slope. All right? Okay, the fourth and fifth questions come from a interpreting information on a graph. Now, let's say I'm given a graph, and I've got information, okay? I've got A, B, and C. These are characteristics, whatever it might be, okay? Let's say that let's say that these represent countries. Country A, country B, country C, right? And then I've got total down here. And then I've got some characteristic, okay? Let's say that we're talking about certain numbers of pets, right? So let's say we've got, I don't know, rabbits, mice. Some people like mice as pets, I don't. And let's say we've got horses. And then we've got over here a total, all right? So let's talk about the number of people in country A. And let's say we're talking about, I don't know, percentage numbers, whatever. We'll keep this simple. Percentage of people in country A that have rabbits as mice. Well, rabbits as pets. Well, let's say that they kind of like their rabbits. Let's say that there's 4 here, okay? Or let's, however that's going to work. Let's say that 4, because if I'm going to be real careful here, we won't talk about it as percentage because that would require extra math. Let's say 4 rabbits are in that country, just total, okay? Just four rabbits in the whole country as pets. Let's say in country B, they don't like rabbits at all as pets. There are 0. Country C, man, they really, really like rabbits as pets. 11, okay? So how many, depending on regardless of what country we're talking about, how many rabbits are kept as pets? 4 plus 0 plus 11, this comes 15 down here. Total of 15, all 3 countries combined, okay? Let's say mice, right? Let's say that country A, well, they don't like mice either, okay? And country C, they don't like mice. But country B, they kind of like mice. I'm going to say 3. In other words, of all 3 countries, there are only 3 mice kept as pets. Horses, on the other hand, wow, they're really, really popular. Country A, 15. Country B, 6. Country C, 8. Okay, so how many horses are kept regardless of which country? 15 plus 6 is 21, plus 8 is 29. All right, so now we know how many total rabbits, how many total mice, and how many total horses are kept. But then let's look at it per country. Pets per country. Country A, in order to determine how many total pets are in country A, I'm going to add this way, okay? And this will tell me how how many pets are in country A. So they have 4 rabbits, 0 mice, and 15 horses. They have a total of 19. They have a total of 19 pets. Okay, country B, you have 0 plus 3 plus 6 is 9. Country C is 11 plus 0 plus 8, that's 19. Okay, so if I look at my numbers here, this tells me how many total rabbits. That fills this column. How many are total pets in country A? That fills this row. So going down, this is called a column. Going across, this is called a row. All right. Now, the questions you're going to be asked are going to be fractional questions. Fractional questions. Like if I said, how many, let's get right to it. I can ask you questions in a few different ways, all right? Let's say of all the pets that are kept, what fraction of them are rabbits? Well, we know that there's a total of 15, but in order, 15 what? 15 what? We don't know yet what the denominator is. We have to add these up. 15 plus 3 is 18, plus 29 is 47. Notice that if I add my totals across, they should equal 47. If I add my totals over here down, should also equal 47, unless I've done something wrong somewhere. So I can say here that 15 of all pets are rabbits. What if I asked more specifically, though? What if I said of countries B and C? Okay, listen how complex this question gets. Of countries B and C, what fraction of the pets are mice and horses? Okay, so here's what I'm going to have to do. If I'm asked about just countries B and C, I'm going to ignore that top line. I'm only focused now on countries B and C. And since I'm asked to calculate what fraction of the pets in countries B and C are mice and horses, what I have to do is I have to add the number of mice and horses that are in those two countries, okay? So what fraction of country B and C are mice and horses? Well, the total number of pets the total number of pets, let's go this way. The total number of pets in country B is 9. The total number of pets in country C is 19. So my total, if I'm talking about the totals of just countries B and C, is going to be the addition of these two, right? So that's going to be my denominator. If I'm asking about just mice and horses from just those two countries, I'm going to add these two. That's going to be my total. And that's 28. Okay? And what fraction of those? Now notice the things I'm not paying attention to. Oftentimes when I'm interpreting a graph, it's important to realize what parts of the graph I'm not looking at to get my information. Do I care how many rabbits there are if the question said how many are mice and horses? No. I don't care about the number of rabbits. Do I care what's going on in country A? Nope. My question was about countries B and C, specifically what fraction of their pets were mice and horses. Well, if I know that all of the pets in country B plus all of the pets in country C are 28, then I need to come up with a fraction that is just mice and horses. 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 8 is 17. So 17/28 of the pets in countries B and C are mice and horses. That's how I'm going to do that fraction. All right. I think that'll be enough information for you to get through this worksheet. Wish you well, and call, text, reach out if you need us, okay?